Death Wish 3.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 1985 classic Charles Bronson film Death Wish 3. Michael Winner returns to direct the third one and stars, of course, Charles Bronson. We have Deborah Raffin, Ed Lauter, Martin Balsam, Gavin O'Harley, Kirk Taylor and Alex Winter. Yes, Alex Winter from Bill and Ted. Right, okay, this time round, Charles Bronson's Paul Kersey returns to New York. And he returns to New York to catch up with a friend who is being terrorized by a gang of local thugs who are controlling the neighborhood. When he turns up, his friend is dead. He's arrested by the local police. The chief of the police basically then tells Paul Kersey that he knows who he is and he's now working for him, and he sends him back into this urban violent neighborhood to do what Paul Kersey does best, and that is to dish out street vigilante justice, which Charles Bronson does with some very big weapons and lots of violence. Right, what are my thoughts on Death Wish 3? Well, the first thing I want to say is while I do think there's a lot of entertainment to be had with this third one, and I do, it's, very much now an 80s franchise, following the trend of the 80s of bigger is better, bigger guns, bigger body counts, bigger explosions, and you get all of that in this one. But it's as far removed, it feels to me, from the first two as you could possibly get. So if you don't mind that so much, then you will enjoy this, if you like. If you kind of go into it and put that baggage to one side. I mean, the first one felt like a gritty, grounded thriller stroke drama, about this guy who, to kind of give himself peace, becomes this vigilante. The second one kind of extended on that a little bit, but was starting to move in the other direction a little bit. But this one is completely removed from the first two. But that doesn't make it unenjoyable, because I have to say I did find this quite enjoyable. I mean, it's dumb as hell, stupid as you like, full of cliches, bad dialogue, plot holes that you could drive tanks through it. I mean, it's the whole shebang. Michael Winner at this point kind of just wanted to do it bigger and in his mind better, but it wasn't better. But it is certainly enjoyable. Even though it is based in New York, it was actually shot in London this time round. I think they did some establishing shots and stuff at New York, but the majority of it was filmed actually in London. The body count, and this is very interesting, because if you look at the body counts in the first two, I think, I don't even think they get to double figures on either of them. I could be wrong, but I don't think they do. This time round, body count, wait for it, is 83. That tells you everything you really need to know in regards to this film. You know what I mean? All you want to see is, I know it's Chuck Norris then. Charles Bronson with big guns shooting bad guys, and he does this with distinct regularity in this film. Another thing I found remarkable is that Charles Bronson was 64, I believe, when he filmed this. But he was absolutely fit as a fiddle, you could tell. Shredded. I mean, apparently he was a bit of a health freak. That's very obvious. I mean, he's always been in shape his whole career. He absolutely has. And it's not slackened off when he gets to this age. I mean, fantastic shape. I mean, you see him doing a lot of running in this. And I'm fairly sure, but correct me if I'm wrong, I'm fairly sure all the running scenes were actually Charles Bronson. It looked like a doddle to him. So very, very impressive physical performance by Charles Bronson. But if you like, the film doesn't require him to do a lot of dramatic acting, if you like. The film, even though it was critically mauled on its release, it has garnered a huge cult following over the years. And I mentioned on the review for the last one that this one, I remember when I was at school, this one at secondary school, I remember the kids all talking about this one because it was supposedly really ultra violent, all the traps that he sets for people. And I'd never heard of Charles Bronson or the Death Wish films. And that was my first exposure to them at school, were people talking about it. And, they talked about a lot of things at school. I remember them talking about First Blood at school and, the Porky's films and so on and so forth. And you're always thinking, God, I must watch that film, sort of thing. And some of them I did. I used to go to a friend's house at lunchtime and watch some of them. I don't think I did with this one. This is one I saw probably years later in my 20s, I'm guessing, for the first time. But this is definitely the first Death Wish film that I saw. And then I caught up with the others, and the only other one I haven't seen is the fifth one. I've never seen the fifth one, which I will obviously rewatch for these reviews. The ending of this film is complete and utter chaos. It's a war zone. It's literally this neighborhood goes to war at the end of the film, and you've got Charles Bronson literally shooting anything that moves practically, with some others kind of joining in. So it's one of those where the neighbors kind of have had enough, they're fed up, so they start joining in as well. In order for him to clean up the streets and get to the villain at the end. And to be fair, it was a fairly strong villain in this one. Fairly one-dimensional, but he kind of looked and acted the part in regards to the leader of like this local gang sort of thing. And another thing I thought was really, really forced in this film, there was like a love interest put in for Charles Bronson, played by Deborah Raffin. Catherine, I believe she was a lawyer. She meets him once at the police station, and then she kind of seeks him out and kind of asks him on a date and this kind of stuff. And, the age difference would have been huge anyway, and I just didn't buy it. I think they felt like they had to put like a love interest in for him so that he could potentially lose someone here in this film like he has in the others, but it just didn't fit or suit the film at all, and there was zero chemistry between them. And to be fair, the film just absolutely didn't need it. And my understanding is as well that Charles Bronson fell out with Michael Winner. I think this is the last film they made together, and I think this was the sixth film that they made together, Michael Winner and Charles Bronson. And I think the reason they fell out with him, or certainly from what I was been reading, is that Michael Winner wanted to make this even more violent than the other one. So when Charles Bronson was off set, he'd film like really violent scenes with like street hoodlums sort of thing to kind of up the violence in the film and the brutality. And Charles Bronson didn't appreciate that, I suppose. So this is definitely full-on entertainment value. It's like Cannon in full swing of their cheesiness in the mid-80s sort of thing. They were firing out films with Chuck Norris that were similar to this, and the same thing with Charles Bronson here. I suspect the next two are going to be similar to this, Death Wish 4 and Death Wish 5. But, there is definitely some entertainment value here. Just you have to kind of pick it up and like sit it away from the first two films, because it doesn't really even feel like the same character to a large degree. That character of the first film who, had never fired a gun before. Well, in this one, he's not only firing guns, he's firing cannons and bloody rocket launchers and Second World War mounted machine guns. You know what I mean? He's like Rambo with a mustache. So yeah, it doesn't even feel to a large degree like the same character in the first film especially, but also the second one. But like I say, there is a lot of fun to be had with this one. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on Death Wish 3. Stay tuned. I will be reviewing Death Wish 4 very soon on the channel, and I hope you enjoyed checking out this review.